Cancer drug racket exposed. How was a death network being run from Delhi, and why were major hospitals shaken? At any hour of the night, when a family sits outside a hospital waiting for just one word from the doctor, medicine is not just a product for them. It is hope. Imagine this. The doctor says that a particular immunotherapy injection will have to be given. The moment the price is heard, the ground seems to slip from under the feet. More than 1.5 lakh rupees for a single vial. The family borrows money, sells jewelry, asks relatives for help, and somehow manages to buy that medicine. But a few months later, a phone call comes saying that the injection you bought was not genuine. Instead of medicine that fights cancer, it was filled with an antifungal liquid. This is where the fear begins. If the hospital, the pharmacist, the packaging, the batch number, everything looks real, then how is an ordinary person supposed to tell the difference between truth and fake? And this is where the curiosity is born. How was such a network built that even life-saving cancer drugs were turned into black market goods? One important phase of this story comes from an ordinary family in Punjab. According to the Indian Express investigation of April 2nd, 026, in early 2022, a 56-year-old woman living near Chandigarh was undergoing treatment for liver cancer at 𝐵GIMER. Doctors prescribed Keytruda to her. Merck and company's pembrolizumab immunotherapy, whose official market price in India for a 100 milligrams vial was said to be above 1.5 lakh rupees. Between September and December 2nd, 02, the family bought 12 vials from a local medical store for around 16 lakh rupees because they felt they were getting a slight discount from the official rate. Later, Delhi police told the family that those injections were counterfeit and that they had been filled with antifungal medication. That was the moment when a private medical struggle turned into a national criminal investigation. But this did not turn out to be an isolated tragedy. Both NDTV Profit and the Indian Express reported that the investigation brought up several such patients who had been sold fake Keytruda. According to NDTV Profit, the Delhi police charge sheet identified at least 8 such patients who had used the fake drug, and one of those patients died. Reports also mentioned patients from Jammu and Kashmir, Uzbekistan and other places, making it clear that this was not just a local Delhi fraud. It was an organized racket linking desperate patients, pharmacists, hospital-linked insiders, and outside sellers. When a drug is rare, extremely expensive, and patients are ready to do anything for it, that is exactly the kind of market that becomes most dangerous for crime. Keytruda is not an ordinary medicine. According to 𝐼𝐶IJ's global investigation, it is one of the world's best-selling cancer drugs, and nearly half of Merck's 2025 revenue came from this drug alone. This drug is used in many kinds of cancers, including melanoma, lung cancer, and breast cancer. And for many patients, it can truly be a life-extending or life-saving therapy. But its price is so high that, for many families, treatment becomes financially ruinous. 𝐼𝐶IJ wrote that high prices and uneven access created a dangerous opening for counterfeiters, where desperate patients and sometimes even hospitals become unwitting customers. In other words, this Indian scandal did not arise in a vacuum. It was a brutally Indian version of a global problem. The racket that Delhi police busted in March 2nd, 024 sounds like the script of a thriller film, but it was reality. According to the Economic Times report of March 2nd, 024, the crime branch exposed a fake cancer and chemotherapy drug racket in West Delhi's Moti Nagar area. The allegation was that the accused were filling empty vials with antifungal medicine worth around 100 rupees, such as fluconazole, and selling them as life-saving cancer drugs for 1 lakh to 3 lakh rupees. Police said this network ran for around 2 years and that more than 7,000 fake injections were sold. This is exactly the point where a discounted medicine turns into a trap. The patient feels they got relief, while in reality they have entered a network of death. Now the question arises, where did the empty vials come from? This is where the most disturbing part of the case comes out. According to the Prince July 2nd 04 report and NDTV Profit's April 2nd 026 report, the charge sheet includes accused linked to major hospitals in Delhi and Gurugram. Among these, allegations were mentioned against staff linked to Rajiv Gandhi Cancer Institute and Research Center, Fortis Memorial Research Institute, Millennium Cancer Center Gurugram, and Venkateshwar Hospital Delhi. The allegation was that some of these people worked in oncology or pharmacy departments, where they had access to the handling, mixing, or administration of cytotoxic drugs. In the investigation, the theory emerged that used or partially used vials, packaging materials, and batch number information were reaching this network, making it easier to make counterfeit products look real. It is very important to understand this as an allegation and a charge sheet-based claim, because the final guilt of every accused is decided by the court. The business model of this network was chilling as well. NDTV Profit reported that empty vials were procured for 3,000 to 6,000 rupees. Fake substances were filled into them, and then they were sold onward for 40,000 to 50,000 rupees or even more. The Indian Express reported that scrutiny of police and hospital records brought up things like matching authentic batch numbers and used vials. This is what makes the racket even more dangerous. If an entirely fake box is made, there is at least some chance that a trained eye may catch it. But if the vial is of the real company, the batch number matches the genuine supply chain, the carton also looks right, and the patient is already desperate, then there is very little room left for suspicion. The strength of this racket was not just in fake medicine. Its strength lay in stealing trust with the help of real packaging. That is why this matter is not only a criminal fraud, but also an exposure of weakness in hospital systems. The Indian Express reported that many hospitals did have procedures for the disposal of used vials, but there was no foolproof reconciliation system for how many vials were actually destroyed after use. If gaps remain in disposal, documentation, wastage accounting, and waste room security around expensive oncology drugs, then those very gaps become raw material for the black market. 𝐼CIJ too wrote in the global context that counterfeiters can obtain authentic packaging and vials through conspiracy with hospital or pharmacy employees. In other words, this network was not attacking the hospital from outside. It had entered deep inside through cracks in the system. There is another painful aspect here. Patients and families often do not knowingly go to the black market. They go there out of helplessness. In the case reported by the Indian Express, the family bought the medicine from a local medical store because the official cost was too heavy. 𝐼CIJ's global report says that the high prices of expensive oncology drugs, patients' desperation, and uneven access give oxygen to the counterfeit trade. When someone is told that this is the same medicine, just available at a slight discount, the family sees that deception as relief. In reality, that very small discount sometimes turns out to be the most expensive thing of all. Because here, the loss is not just of money, but also of the treatment window. In cancer therapy, lost time often becomes an irreversible loss. An international dimension makes this entire case even more serious. Economic Times reported in March 2, 2024, that this fake drug network was accused of selling injections even outside India, and that the patients were not just from Delhi or nearby places. NDTV Profit also mentioned a patient from Uzbekistan. This means that India being a healthcare destination, the growth of medical tourism, and the concentration of expensive oncology care, all these factors can also create a cross-border market for such rackets. Where people come from outside for treatment, the information gap and dependence on trust increase even more. And the greater the trust, the more lethal the betrayal becomes. This scandal forced hospitals to rethink their internal controls. According to the Indian Express investigation, some hospitals later tightened their processes. Changes were seen such as preparing expensive injections in the presence of relatives, crushing or destroying used vials, maintaining logs, and securing access to waste storage. These changes show that the system acknowledged the risk. But this raises the bigger question too. Should these changes not have been in place earlier? Because in oncology, every vial is not just inventory. It is the distilled form of some patient's hope, loan, jewelry, land, or family savings. In such a case, a weak chain of custody feels not just like an administrative lapse, but a moral failure. Several reports also mention another tragic case. A woman from Bihar who bought cheaper medicine from an online source and later died. NDTV Profit, based on the charge sheet, said that one death was identified among patients who had consumed fake drugs. 𝐼CIJ also wrote about a Nepal origin family where a woman received Keytruda in India through a hospital worker-linked source, and later the family began to suspect that the treatment may have been counterfeit. There is one common thread in every such story. The patient did not know they were taking fake medicine. Even while fighting cancer, they were having to fight not just their own body, but a hidden criminal economy. That is the most horrifying part of this entire scandal. India's cancer burden is also rising rapidly, and that background makes this case even more alarming. According to estimates based on the National Cancer Registry Program, published in the Indian Journal of Medical Research, cancer incidence in India was estimated to rise from around 1.46 million cases in 2022 to around 1.57 million in 2025. Meanwhile, in a 2025 analysis in JAMA Network Open citing the Global Cancer Observatory, it was said that cancer incidence in India could reach around 2.46 million cases by 2045. When disease burden is rising, demand for expensive therapies is growing, and patients are under financial pressure. Market conditions become even more favorable for fake drug rackets. This does not mean every expensive cancer drug is suspicious. It means public health pressure and criminal incentive are rising together. WHO has also issued warnings regarding falsified medical products. In the 𝐼CIJ report, citing a WHO spokesperson, it was said that reported incidents of substandard and falsified medical products in recent years have been alarming, and since 2019, WHO has recorded 36 product reports linked to falsified Keytruda. 𝐼CIJ also wrote that sophisticated counterfeit products can circulate through social media, messaging apps, and online marketplaces. In other words, this problem is no longer limited to some illegal backlane chemist. Digital channels too have given it stealth and scale. Patients can be trapped through phrases like discount, imported stock, urgent available, and hospital source. Until the verification chain becomes strong, both convenience and affordability can turn into risks. Then the question comes, what should an ordinary family do? First, such life-saving and high-cost oncology drugs should be purchased only through an authorized hospital pharmacy, a verified distributor, or the documented chain of the treating institution. Second, an unusually large discount should be seen not as relief, but as a warning. Third, sealed packaging, invoice, batch number, and doctor/hospital verification should not be taken lightly. Fourth, if any person talks about arranging an expensive medicine through a hospital link, staff contact, or WhatsApp source, then that is exactly the moment when suspicion should begin. Both 𝐼CIJ and Indian investigations show that counterfeiters create an illusion of authenticity. That is why verification must be treated not as routine but as a survival step. But simply alerting patients will not solve the problem. The biggest lesson of this scandal is for institutions. Hospitals will have to build tighter links between vial accounting, wastage reconciliation, video surveil disposal, dual sign-off destruction, pharmacy audit trails, surprise inspections, and biomedical waste handling. Regulators will have to keep closer watch on the supply chain of high-value oncology medicines. Law enforcement will have to increase both speed and forensic capacity in counterfeit drug cases. And the pharma ecosystem too will have to become much more serious about traceability systems. Because in a market where an antifungal liquid can be sold as immunotherapy, even silence starts feeling like complicity. Perhaps the greatest pain in this whole story is this. A cancer patient is already fighting an invisible enemy. Their hair falls, their body weakens, money drains away, and hope keeps shaking again and again. If in the middle of that fight, a network loots even their medicine, their hope, and their family's sacrifice, then it no longer remains just fraud. It becomes the murder of trust. This Delhi racket tells us exactly this. The most dangerous form of crime in healthcare is the one hidden behind a white coat, an original vial, and a discounted promise. And until the system learns this lesson with full strictness, every such news story will remain not just a case, but a warning that in the world of treatment too, trust is the most precious medicine and also the easiest prey. If this video has taught you something new, or if you feel this information should reach more people, don't forget to like and share the video. Your small share can become valuable and useful information for someone else. If you have any questions related to this topic, or if you would like to share your opinion with us, be sure to write in the comment box. We read every question and suggestion from you, because your feedback inspires us to create better content. And if you want to keep receiving such interesting and reliable information about business, the economy, and the world in the future, then don't forget to subscribe to our channel GRT Business and also press the bell icon so that you get notifications of every new video directly. At GRT Business, we always strive to provide you with accurate, balanced, and reliable information. Our news and analysis are prepared based on information obtained from various news agencies, public sources, and public opinion. We make every effort to verify and validate each fact as much as possible. But in case of any possible error or dispute, the responsibility lies with the respective sources. Our only aim is to present you with a correct and trustworthy perspective so that you can understand any topic better.